into this. There we are. How are you, friend?
Yeah, going well. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Well, we're making history here. You are our first guest on Future Golf TV.
It's an honour, mate. It's an absolute honour.
I know you've played in some big games. You've had finals. You've had all of that happening. But right now there are 7 people watching this. So I don't want to blow your mind, but
No, there's 9, mate. So don't sell yourself short.
there's 9, and that's going to grow. So big audience, high pressure, high stakes. But mate, firstly, we just wanted to thank you for coming on board. And right now with golf, obviously, and a lot of sport off, it's a great opportunity to have a chat with guys like yourself to see what's going on. So I guess the first question as we kick this off is, how have you been keeping yourself busy while we have been in this sort of lockdown period?
I've actually been relatively busy, believe it or not, for the last 4 weeks. We played our last game, I think it was about 5 weeks ago now, and a lot of this unknown has sort of led to us having to keep training the whole time. We don't know when we're coming back. So pretty much as of about 3 days after our game against the Saints, we probably had 3 days off and we started training straight up. So we've been training pretty much as per usual. And I'm actually doing a renovation, which is why I'm stuck in a bedroom here. So I've been getting on the tools a little bit and trying to help out where I can. So between training and a bit of painting, it's been keeping me pretty busy.
So how's that been? Like, obviously, you kick off the season, you've got massive pre-season, pumped up, awesome win against the Saints, 2 points, and then like the uncertainty sort of around that first round as well. What's it been like the vibe around the club, and how are you guys handling it?
It's hard to know because we've just been doing a whole lot of Microsoft Teams chats as opposed to actually catching. So we all had to get our flu shot the other day, and we could see each other in the distance, and that was about as close as we've got, in the last 4 or 5 weeks. But look, I think the boys are in pretty good spirits, as best you can, I suppose, at this time when you can't really have that face-to-face interactions that everyone craves. But no, they're going all right, mate. And the way it's all heading, hopefully we can get back playing soon.
Yeah, awesome. And I think everyone's very, very excited. And it looks like, especially in Australia at the moment, we've done a relatively good job to flatten the curve. And there are a lot of talks of things sort of returning back to some type of normality. It seems like I think everyone's a bit more optimistic at the moment, and hopefully that just keeps continuing on. Obviously, some big changes at the club with Reece Shaw coming on board, new coach. What's Reece brought to the club, and how's sort of like what are you guys excited about with his new approach? And
I think for some of us older guys, it's just a change of scenery. And I just saw Jack Siebel leave a comment there. He was drafted the year before me, and we've had Brad Scott for 10 years, the best part of 10 years. So for Shaw to come in and then just change bits and pieces, tweak the program here and there, it's fantastic just to sort of breathe new life into what we're doing. He's pretty recently out of the game as well, so he's got a pretty good grasp on the challenges that we face as players, and he's fantastic at building relationships with the older guys and the younger guys, and guys can really relate to him, which is fantastic. And he's just he's a little ball of energy, Shorey, so he's always keeping us up and about.
No, that's awesome. And do you think there's with coaching, just going to that side, do you think there's a bit of a difference between coaches that have played and then those coaches that haven't?
I'm trying to think if I've actually had a coach that hasn't played.
Yeah, well,
Scotty, even my line coaches, all my line coaches have played. So it's I can't really comment too much on it, but I think the hardest thing is, and I imagine if I was going to be a coach, it'd be really hard to sort of remember what it was like to play. I think, and a lot of coaches often make mention of that, we don't want to forget what it was like to play, the pressures and the stress and the impact on your body, and exactly, how fatigued you are. It's easy when we watch our games from behind goals, behind the goal scrummers down the ground. So, you're not running hard enough or something, and they say, you need to be here. Why aren't you 3 meters to the left? And you sort of think, hang on, I've just done, 18 minutes of solid work here, and you're telling me I need to be 3 meters left. And, they can sometimes lose that a little bit, but a lot of them are always, as I said, I've probably had 4 or 5 that have all made mention that they never want to forget that. So, that's something obviously that's pretty much on the forefront of a lot of their minds, I think.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right? Like if you're sitting there and you're looking at the game from that top level, it can sometimes be hard to remember what it was like when you're actually in the trenches. And
well, it's funny. it looks so easy when you look from the top and you look at the ground, you think, why didn't he do that, or why is he there, or he needs to be pressing up, or whatever it is. And often you sort of forget what it's like on ground level. You think, how did you not see that play there? But when you're on ground level and you're trying to look through, 15 players in front of you to find that one that apparently is easy to see, trust me, on ground level, it's hard to see. You hear the crowd yelling at you, just kick it to that person. More often than not, we haven't even seen them. So it is easier up in the stands. Sometimes footy's an easy game up there.
Oh, I love it as well when you're just sitting on the wing. It's like, why don't you just hit that bloke? He's 56 metres away, just on the right wing with 2 players. It's fine. Come on, you're trained for that.
Don't worry. When I'm not playing, I'm sitting up there. It's pretty easy as well.
Oh, that's hilarious. And one of the big things that I've sort of been watching as a big fan over the last, 6 months, and that is Madjak's recovery and return to the sport. I think, like, as a sports fan and just a football fan in general, that's definitely one of the most inspiring stories that I've seen in comebacks. What was that like at the club? Tell us a little bit about how that maybe galvanised and had an impact.
Oh, mate, that was that was really a challenging period for our footy club. In the December and sort of January period, and I got drafted the same year as Majak, so I'm really close to him, and he's just an absolute ripping guy. And to see him from where he's come from, and to visit him when it just happened, and then to where he's got to now is it's pretty special to see. And I was actually really lucky. I was actually very lucky that, in the sense that I was actually coming back from injury at the time that he was coming back. So I was actually playing in the VFL. Actually, that's a lie. I'd come back from injury. I couldn't get back in the side, so I was still playing VFL. And Madge actually played his first game. It was last year against Sandringham. And to then actually be able to be down and stick to see. So he's gone through some pretty tough times, Madge, and he's put in all the work. And mate, I wish that bloke absolutely nothing but success in the future. And he's really, really close to playing round 1. He got a little bit sick the week of round 1 and didn't really get much training in, so they decided to just he's pulling on the blue and white stripes in the AFL, which will be awesome.
Oh, can't wait. And I think, as you mentioned there's so many amazing parts of that, and it would have been phenomenal to see that road to recovery. And I think it's something that just football fans is super, super excited about. Now, changing tact a little bit, I know that you are a very smart man off the field. You've done your degree, or you're doing your degree at the moment, and you've got a lot of interests outside of football. Have you had a chance to explore some of those? Like, I know you mentioned the house renovation at the moment during the 5 weeks.
Not really. I've managed to finish my my commerce degree a couple of years ago, so it's something that it took me 7 years to do. So it was a slow burn, but we got there in the end. And then this period, I've just sort of been looking at bits and pieces to sort of get stuck into. I have tried to broaden my talents on Microsoft Excel, given I'm a bit of a nerd. I've actually taken a course on it, so I'm doing a little bit of that at the minute, which is keeping me occupied as well in my downtime. So, mate, to be honest, I'm just trying to work out exactly where I want to go when I finish footy, and whenever that is, and I'm trying to sort of pick up bits and pieces here that might be able to help me transition once my time comes to an end, which is inevitable and it will happen. So, look, Excel was something that I just thought, in the road I want to take that's probably will be pretty handy for me. So that's something simple that I thought I could do. Found a course online and jumped on board.
Awesome. I know our general manager, Rowan, is very much into his Excel, so there's probably some conversations to be had there.
Yeah, mate. You'd be amazed at my wedding the amount of times Excel was mentioned in spreadsheets. Everyone knows that I do. Everyone that knows me knows I love a good Excel spreadsheet.
So what are you doing in Excel? Like, what's piking?
I don't know, mate. I'll do anything in Excel. I'll do anything, mate. I don't know. I just find it fun. I just love numbers. My ever since I was young, for some reason, I've just loved numbers and always have. And I think it comes from my old man. He's a stockbroker, and I've always found it amazing. He's like a human calculator sometimes. So I find it fascinating, and just something I've always done.
No, that's awesome. Well, and you mentioned sort of life after footy, and obviously going potentially in that numbers side. Is there anything that sticks out as an interest?
I haven't really worked it out just yet. I'm still sort of finding my way. I mean, my passions are obviously sport and football, so I'd love to stay involved in not necessarily football, but sport in general and wherever that takes me. And I'm not a massive fan of coaching, so I can rule that out. I won't be doing that, but probably more down the administration side, which is where the XL comes in. Down that side of sports administration, be it in operations or some sort of management position, I'd love to eventually get into. So, look, what it looks like as soon as I finish, I'm not 100% sure yet, and I probably won't know until it happens. But I think I'll end up in sports somewhere, and maybe working under you sometime.
And how is it now in the game, like for people wanting to transition and that sort of life after footy? Like, has that improved over, say, the last 5 years? And is there a bit of a process in place?
It's a good question. Actually, I had a meeting yesterday about this. We've got a new, it's called a industry governance committee, which we're actually trying to work on helping guys develop personally and try and build a bit of a what's the right word? Sort of self-worth outside of football. Take football out of your life. How do you define yourself? Because a lot of footballers define themselves as footballers. But how do you actually? What do you identify as away from that? Which for a lot of guys is a real challenge. And so when the time comes to an end and you strip football out of a player's life, often they're left with not a lot. So we're trying to really work on building a holistic approach to the individual. And to be honest, at the minute, it's starting to go really well. This whole situation has this whole situation's sort of heightened it a little bit. Guys are having to sort of forge their own path at the minute and work out where they want to go and those bits and pieces. The interesting piece, I actually read an article by Sam Doherty the other day where he was mentioned that he's always wanted to go into the coaching caper. And it's sort of like he's a really smart guy, and I've got no doubt to be a great coach. But he sort of made mention of the way now footy's going with what's happened is, does that now potentially mean that there's not going to be as many opportunities there come in the sea? But it's something we're always working on, and the hardest part is that guys come into you always hear people say that footballers are institutionalised, and look, part of that is correct, and you come into a really regimented regime, and they come in at 18, and some of them leave at 30 without potentially the life experience others have. They've got greater knowledge in other areas, but we're constantly working to try and help guys develop themselves as people, and when they can finish, they can sort of go and do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, it's a few really interesting points in that one, like around the institutionalization component of it. But I think with that probably comes a lot of pros as well, right? In terms of being in a really high performance environment, you've got coaching, access to resources, network.
There's certain aspects I was just going to say there's certain aspects that are detrimental, but then there are others that are really positive as well. That you'll get some that, as I say, the institutionalization. It is a drawback or an issue some face, but then the other side to it is you won't find all footballers. For example, they're very goal driven. They're very motivated. They work really well in team environments. They're they're very, very punctual because we find ourselves jumping off Kerford Road Pier at 6 a.m. if we're a minute late. So there's you got guys like that'll do it really well. So there's different aspects of it.
No, that's true. Very true. And just sort of staying on that theme of outside of football, I know last year at the BNF you won the Peter Scanlon Community Award for some of the awesome work you've done with Red Dust and a few other causes. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Red Dust was an organisation that they essentially work hand in hand or walk side by side with Indigenous communities, remote communities, and it's fantastic because they go into communities, build relationships, and got really long-lasting relationships with some of these communities in the Central Desert and Northern Territory, which is great. And I was lucky enough to go on a trip out there. I can't actually remember now who got me involved in it. Oh, Will Minson is a board member there, and he's a coach at the club, and he sort of put me in touch with them, and they invited me out on a trip to Yuendamu, which is about 3.5 hours northwest of Alice Springs, and spent a week out there, and it was awesome. Went out with one of my teammates, Joel Simpkin, and We spent, 5 days in their local primary school. Just literally, the great thing about their program is they don't come in and try and, solve the world's issues or do anything like that. They come out there and they literally just slide straight into the program that the schools are doing and just lend a hand where they can. And mate, it was fantastic. We went out there, spent the day in the school, and then, from about 4 o'clock till 6, I think we just spent with the kids at the local basketball court or at the swimming pool or, up in the oval, just having a kick or shooting some hoops or mucking around. And then, when the lights come on at about 6:30, 7 o'clock at the oval, that's when training starts. And training doesn't finish until the lights go off at about 11:30. So every single night there's a training session of about 4 or 5 hours. So it's we certainly kept the fitness up when we were out there.
that's elite level performance.
Oh, mate.
Brilliant.
And mate, some of the players out there, I'm telling you right now, some of them would slot very nicely into any AFL side as well. There are some genuine weapons.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm guessing the talent and just raw ability would be absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
Now going back a little bit, so tell us a little bit about how the journey started for you and your upbringing. What inspired you to go down this career path?
So I was brought up in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne. So lived with mum, dad, my brother and sister. So pretty much lived out Burwood and then moved into Camberwell. Or lived there, well, literally until I came across to North as an 18-year-old. And to be honest, I had a bit of a different journey in terms of my footy career. I came through, playing just junior footy. I was never in any rep side. I was never in any state teams or anything like that. And I hit my what's called your bottom age under 18 year. So it was when I was my 17-year-old year at the Oakley Chargers, and I actually got a stress fracture in my back, and I didn't play a game, and so I wasn't on any radar. And the following year, I was actually really lucky to even make the Oakley Chargers list in the under 18 comp, as a starting point. So I certainly wasn't on any recruiters' radar at all. And funnily enough, I was playing as I used to be a forward, a third tall forward, and I was playing as a forward, and I'll never forget this day. But I was must have been the second and final sort of trial game to make the Oakley Chargers list, and I'd had about one touch to half time, and the coach came up to me and said, "Mate, I'm going to put you half back, and I need to see something from you because we're not going to take you otherwise. You need to do something, otherwise you're not going to make a list." And anyway, I played the second half at half back, and I've never played forward again. So that was my sliding doors moment for me, and I ended up making the Chargers list. And about four games later, I was put into the Vic Metro's team, and I hadn't played any footy the year before, so it was it was an interesting sort of couple of months there for me. And then I had a few more injuries in my top age year that year, and I was amazed, to be honest. When I got drafted, I told mum and dad that at best I'd be a rookie pick, I thought, and maybe towards the end of the draft. And they'd actually gone to make a cup of tea or something in the early stage of the draft, because I said, "Oh no, I won't be going anywhere near here." So I was just myself in the front room at our house, and pick 37 rolled around and North picked me up, and it was a bit of a surprise. So
that's amazing. What a story! History. So that's a pretty amazing turnaround. So say, for example, from like a pressure perspective, it kind of seems like you went the other way off, not really putting all that much pressure on yourself, but it's like everything was a bonus.
Well, it was interesting. Like I remember my year 10 year, the year before I got injured, it was, I was playing year 10 footy, and one of my good mates was playing in our first at the school, and I thought, he's way better than me, and he's always going to make it, and I'm no chance. And that was a bit of a crushing moment for me, because we both had the dream of playing AFL, and so that sort of then turned my thinking around from I'm going to play AFL. For some reason in my head I was thinking, because I'm not playing first 18 footy as a 16-year-old in year 10, I'm never going to make it. And then the following year to not play a single game, it was like, well, I'm definitely not going to play AFL now. So, I hadn't spoken to any clubs. I hadn't been in any teams along the way. I was struggling to make the Oakley Chargers. So it was a bit of a case of, I just thought, this is never going to happen. So in terms of pressure, I went into my under 18 year, I was wholly and solely focused on just trying to do well at school and thinking, I'll just have a kick on the weekend to keep my mind sane and go from there. And as I said, it just spiraled. It was, as I said, I'd literally played Oakley Chargers in that first half of that pracky game, or that last trial game, and I was thinking, I'm not going to make it. I've had a good second half. I got the call 2 days later to say you're on the list, and then we had one more practice game, which was the team, and then all of a sudden they said, "Oh, you're playing round one," and I thought, "Oh, okay," and played round one, and then all of a sudden I got the call up to the Vic Metro squad. So it was a bizarre sort of couple of weeks. That you're probably right. And then then the pressure came. Then I was like, okay, now hang on, I'm expected to perform and all this. So it was probably a bit different to the guys that you see guys now that are touted as the number one pick for next year and the year after and all that. They're the ones that are probably dealing with pressure for a prolonged period of time. I was sort of like, it was no pressure, and it was just like, bang, deal with this. So it was good.
Man, it's interesting. Like, I've been watching The Last Dance, like probably a lot of sports fans on Netflix, the Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls series, and it's amazing to see how he goes about, or how he went about his approach to the game and that level of focus and intensity. Like just in terms of professional sport, given how competitive it is, if you've looked at it over, say, the last 10 years, what are 2 or 3 things that really stick out for those that make it and then those that don't?
I think that one of my number one things that is a difference between making it and not, I reckon, is self-awareness. I think I see a lot of guys come in who probably think they're at a stage of their career where they're probably not yet. I'm not saying they wouldn't get there, but they think they're more advanced than they are, or they struggle to identify their areas of improvement, or can't understand how they fit into the team environment. And I think they're the ones that or the ones that understand that come in and go, I know I'm a good player, but I know I need to improve on these 3 things, or I know that, when they get dropped, it's not the end of the world, that it's, well, I actually understand how I fit into this system. And they're the ones that really thrive. And I look at someone like Brent Harvey, who played 32 games or whatever it was. He's out there, in before his last game for North, and he's still going, I need to improve on this, I need to improve on that. And that's not to say you're never going to master anything. I mean, you're going to be a good player, but he's always trying to pick apart the parts of his game that that's going to make him a better player. And then you get other guys who, they've got glaring weaknesses, but they're perhaps not as aware of them, and they try and sweep them under the carpet a little bit. And look, mate, trust me, everyone's been through it, and some guys it takes a year to pick that up, and some guys take, 3, 4, 5 years, and sometimes that's too late. So everyone sort of comes in the same, but how quickly you can sometimes go, you know what, you got to put your hand up and say, I'm no good under the high ball when I know I've got to go back with a flight. And there's nothing wrong with doing that, because once you say that out loud, you accept that you accept that it's an issue, and then coaches are willing to help you. Coaches go, geez, this guy's just accepted that he's no good under a high ball. So straight away they go, all right, well, how can we help you? Versus if you just try and sweep that under the carpet, it's going to be an issue for the rest of your career. So there's guys that, the guys that are really, really self-aware. I think that's something for me that I've found is a really common trait amongst the guys that have really strong careers.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting. Makes sense as well in terms of being able to, take that feedback to make the improvements. And I guess with such a big playing group, like how does that sort of culture and how do the egos essentially get managed? Because I'm guessing there'd be a pretty unique mix and so much diversity there.
There is a lot of diversity amongst our playing group, which, to be honest, is a great thing. If you had 45 guys, 45 people exactly the same as me, it's not going to work. If you have 45 of the same, Ben Browns or Jack Zeebles, it's not going to work either. So you really need to make sure you get a good breadth of people in there. And look, how you manage it, I suppose you just got to get to know people. I mean, that's my big philosophy is you have to understand what makes people tick, and you got to understand why people make certain decisions. And it's not about judging them. It's not about going, okay, well, this player does this, and so I don't like him anymore, or I'm going to write him off. It's about working with them. And the biggest thing for me, mate, is you have to understand what makes someone get out of bed in the morning. And, we've got 45 guys who get out of bed for all different reasons. If you can really start, poking them in the right areas with, a bit of motivation and things like that, you'll get the best out of them. And the same goes for the other way. When they make mistakes, is some guys are going to respond really well to sprays. Some guys don't respond well to sprays at all. Some guys respond really well to go and grabbing a coffee and having a sit down and having a good chat. And some guys just want you to get to the point. So the quicker that you can understand each other as individuals and what they've been through in the past and how that shaped them now, then I think you'll be better for it. And that's I suppose the thing we find with having 45 different guys it's you can't treat everyone the same.
No, awesome, mate. You're dropping some bits of gold here, I think. I wish I had the pen and paper out here writing some notes, but it's such a good point. I think there's so many unique learnings for those that are in that environment, and obviously from leaders like yourself. Now shifting over to a bit of golf. Now, I know that you are a very passionate golfer, and it's getting in there. I saw Sean Higgins. He had a pretty good setup going on in his backyard there. Have you got anything rolling at your place at the moment?
I don't. I thought it was he's been messaging me about his putting green he's been putting in, and I've been around at their house currently with a backyard of dirt, just thinking, where can we get one in here? Don't think it's going to fly with the wife though, but that's all right. We've got some time to get that going, but we haven't. I haven't got anything yet, but I'm actually staying at my brother and sister-in-law's at the minute. And the other day, I was sitting on the couch, and my brother-in-law came home, and he had a massive bucket of table tennis balls. Yeah, and I was like, "What are they for?" And he said, "No, just for the garage." And he set himself up as a little home office in the garage. Anyway, I went out there the other day, and he's got this little bit of fake grass now. He's been smacking ping pong balls in the garage with his golf stick. So he's I might have to go join him at lunchtime today and have a whack. But we don't have anything in here, mate. We're the only thing I do have is the golf clubs in the car ready to go when we get the nod.
That's hilarious, and I love it. And we've been loving it, just watching everyone's sort of home setups. Like I think you've seen guys just doing trick shots in their backyards and shanking them off to the side, breaking windows. It's some pretty entertaining viewing there. With golf, how'd that journey start? What got you into the game?
It first started with my grandparents had a holiday house down at Point Lonsdale, which they don't have anymore, which I'm pretty flat about. But they had one down there, and my grandpa and dad and brother, we used to play every Christmas time, and literally just once a year we'd play. And then it got to started to then morph into when I got back to Melbourne, I started playing with a few mates, and I sort of lost. Didn't really play golf probably for 4 or 5 years when I first got drafted. I sort of lost interest in it, and then once footy came to a point where, to be honest, footy becomes so consuming where you're living and breathing it every moment of every day. And then social media became huge. And so, if I wasn't playing footy or training, I was on the phone, or, I was just sitting at home. And then I finished uni 3 years ago. And that was a time when that was sort of my escape, was I'd always go to uni and be a uni student, or come home and put my head in books or something. And then I lost sort of that outlet, and I was really, to be honest, I was actually really struggling with footy, and it was consuming me a lot. And then I found that with golf, I'd get out on the golf course, put the phone in the bag, and you spend 4 hours walking around, in the fresh air and whacking a few balls. And mate, that's just sort of sparked my love for it, that I could really get my head out of, football and not have to worry about it for the couple of hours I was out there. And it was actually on that Red Dust trip. I was on that trip with Brad Sewell, who's also a Future Golf member, and he sort of mentioned it to me, and I said, I'll have to have a look at it when I get home. And anyway, I signed up, and I'll tell you what, once you get that first handicap and you start to play a little bit better, and you see it coming down, the competitive nature in me just got the better of me, and then I just found myself playing quite constantly to try and get better, which was good. So that's how the journey started, awesome, mate. And now it's to a point where it really is my my safe place is out on the golf course.
Yeah, awesome. No, that's awesome. There's a few pretty cool bits in there. So I know you, as a numbers man with golf, you can definitely wrap your head around some pretty good numbers. What is your handicap at the moment?
I'm currently off 12. So I've come
12?
into 12.
Pretty good.
Yeah. So
I think when we last played, you were around 15.
Yeah. So it's coming in.
An improvement there.
My goal is to get into single digits. That's the goal. And once we get there, I've got no doubt we'll reassess. But I started playing, actually, this is true. So I started playing with Nathan Robert, who's also a Future Golf member. And he signed up as well as at Future Golf, but also at La Trobe in Melbourne. And I remember when I started playing with him. I got him into golf, and I started playing with him, and he was horrific. He was playing off like, I'd be lucky to. I don't even want to say what he's off. He was off something bad. Anyway, and then really hit balls left, right, and centre. Yeah, it was high. And mate, I've never seen a man so dedicated to the craft of a sport that he's not. He played last year at North Melbourne, and he was playing golf 4 times a week. We'd play on a Saturday, and he'd be out there on a Sunday. And he got down to 7.
Yeah,
And
wow.
he's playing.
Amazing.
He's obviously not playing at the minute, but he plays some really good golf, and he's just he's really dedicated his life at the minute to getting his golf game better, and he loves it. So he was exactly the same as me, mate. He still does, gets out on the course when things are stressful and all a bit too much, and life just sort of waits at the front gate, and we pick it up on the way out.
Yeah, it's amazing with golf how you can start off so terrible, and we speak to so many people, and they're just like, "Oh, golf's just not for me." I'm not meant to play golf. I'm not a natural. Just expecting that it's going to be a very simple sport, just because it looks so easy. Like I compare it to surfing a lot, where oh wow, that looks pretty easy. You can just stand up on the board, ride the wave, and off you go. Whereas I think golf's got probably even more of that vibe where it's like stand over it, hit a stationary ball. How hard can it be? And then that shock sets in of holy crap, to get that ball going straight and high, there's a bit of work here. Like, as an athlete, how do you approach and break down the game? So say, for example, you started out playing golf as a beginner, or you saw Nate even starting out. What's a good approach? Like, what sort of athlete mentality could you use to approach the game?
To be honest, I try and not really adopt my athlete mentality when I play, because it's I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and it's one of the traits in me that I think as well has held me in good stead in my football career, is that, I really want to try and master everything, constantly see more improvement. And look, it's a challenge to leave that behind when I'm on the golf course, because, it's something that I miss a couple of putts. I want to spend, an hour on the putting green after and just mastering it. But I still want golf to also be fun and not frustrating and stressful, which everyone knows it can't be. So yeah, look, it is something that, I try and not think about too much. I don't really want to adopt the athlete mentality, but the hardest part is, mate, I've got a competitive nature in me, and the good thing is I'm not competing with anyone else. It's just myself. But look, that's something that I try and not bring too much.
No, and that makes complete sense. And I think we see a lot of athletes, they speak about it, that golf is a release, especially while they're playing, and then it seems like it elevates to another level once it's post-career, that all right, now it's time to go in there and zone in, and I'm no doubt you'll be off +6 probably by the time you're 45, mate.
Not the way I'm hitting my driver at the minute.
No, that's awesome. And yeah, you mentioned like a bit about future golf there, mate. I'll give us a little bit of a plug since we're here. Like, it's great. Sully's been an amazing supporter and got us on there, but in many ways, you actually put us on the map. There was a post-game interview, and I think BT was doing the roaming Brian, and you gave us a plug, and I think we got about 50 or 100 messages saying, "Oh, future golf, you guys are big now." So, mate, firstly, thanks for that and for doing that. But how have you found future golf, and what do you kind of like about it?
Yeah, well, firstly, I wish I could say that was planned, but I really got caught off guard by BT. I don't know who fed in the information that I was playing golf, but someone threw me under the bus, telling me that telling BT I hit irons off the tee. But
there's nothing wrong with that,
mate. Yeah, mate. I found it fantastic, to be honest, and I think that one of the reasons that I really enjoyed is two reasons I've found is, one, the actual cost of it is fantastic compared to trying to, I looked at going to signing up at Latrobe with Nate, and I was like, mate, I can't be doing that right now. And then you're also, when you're paying your fees there, you're also essentially committing to it for life in a way. You're not going to pay that sign-on or that entry fee and give that away. So, mate, that was first and foremost, that was one of the huge pluses. And then the second one is just being able to play all these different courses. I'm not someone who likes to go and play the one course 100 times. It's I feel with golf, it's almost like cheating when you play the same course every time, because you start to pick up all the little tricks of that particular course, which you're probably going to help you out a fair bit, and that's why they say you can bring your handicap down a fair bit if you play the same course consistently. And mate, even the way it's grown over the last 2-3 years with the courses that you've added, and they're not second-rate courses by any stretch of the imagination. They're some of Melbourne's best or Victoria's best. I know it's here anyway. I haven't played them any interstate, but it gives us access to those courses that otherwise I probably wouldn't have been able to get on. And for me as well, I'm a golfer that can't play every week, so I don't need a membership that's going to allow. I don't need a 7-day golf membership at a club. I just need somewhere that's going to allow me to play golf when I can, which, you know, to be honest, is once a week in the off season, potentially twice a week. And then during the year, it's you know, once or twice a month at best. So that's what future golf's allowed me, mate. So it just really suited my lifestyle really well.
No, awesome, man. And it's been amazing having you on board, having you hit with you. I know we're going to have a bit of a pre-COVID hit that didn't end up taking place, but it's just awesome to see, yeah, you guys, and I know a few of the other boys at the club get into their golf as well. So moving on to that, who is the best golfer at the club at the moment?
At the moment, it's do we include coaches here?
I think you can, yeah, like maybe coach and player.
Yeah, so Jared Moore, our midfield coach, he can genuinely play. He's a pretty good golfer. He hits a good ball, and in terms of players, though, it's definitely Sean Higgins. Now that Nathan Robat's left, and he's he's actually a staff member as well now. But he got to be the best. He probably plays off about 10. Back in the day, though, I'll say back in the day, it wasn't that long ago, but Daniel Wells could play some serious golf. He was off low single figures. So and Brad Scott, he was off about 2. So yeah, there is some good golfers floating around. I know there's some very good golfers out there in the AFL as well.
Yeah, I can imagine Wells. He would just have been one of those naturals that picked up the golf club first time, started bombing it straight down the middle, and off he went.
Yeah, he was a silky golfer.
Can't imagine it being ugly.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's awesome. And with the footy club at the moment, so similar type of theme. Who are you excited about this year? If there is this year, out of the young guns that are coming through the club?
Oh, the one for me, mate, is Taron Thomas. He's he's a really young kid, second year this year, and last year he did some amazing stuff on field for us. And I think this year he'll he's had a really good block of training before COVID. So I'm hopeful that he'll be able to have a really good year, and he does some really exciting stuff. And he's only got a small body, but he can, I'll tell you, for already. And I think he's going to be a tremendous player for us. So I'm excited to see what he can do this year.
Yeah, he's really, really exciting. I'm very excited too, mate. And you've obviously had a really long career at the club there. This question is going to probably be a hard one to pick, but who's the best player that you've played with, or your favourite teammate?
It'd have to be the best player I've played with. Would have to be probably Brent Harvey. He's someone that he's played. He's probably one of North's greatest players ever. To see what he can do and the talents he's got, and now he's a coach there. He's a special person in terms of football, that's for sure. So he'd be up there as probably the best I've played with, I reckon. And then you got guys like Daniel Wells who are next level special as well, and one we're playing with now, which probably doesn't get as much credit as he should, but Ben Cunnington's an absolute star. So I think he's a player that he's unassuming in what he does, and certainly doesn't search for the limelight at all. He's probably down on his farm at the minute, as far away from the limelight, and absolutely loving it. So he's someone, mate, who's they're some pretty special players.
Mate, the pretty elite company out of those three legends, and amazing careers from all of them. And on the other side, who's the biggest pest at the club?
Biggest pest. To be honest, Majak will be up there. He loves a good gag. There's not as many anymore. There used to be back in the day. There was a lot. Scotty McMahon and Lee Adams, Levi Greenwood. There was a few there that really like to get under your skin a little bit. But it's sort of mellowed out a bit these days. I think more people are worried. More people consumed with their phones and social media. They don't have the time to run these gags anymore. There used to be a couple of long cons getting around the club. So we've seen the demise of the pest a little bit.
That's hilarious. Any that stand out or that you're a victim of?
Oh, mate. Oh, many. We had our house trashed once by two gorillas, or two people in gorilla suits. We didn't know for 4 years who did it. Didn't know for 4 years because they were wearing these gorilla suits, mate. We put a massive investigation together. They trashed the whole house. Like, not trashed it, but just moved furniture around and took everything out of the cupboards, and it was phenomenal. Anyway, Andrew Swallow came back in one year, and after he retired, and he came back in the December of that year, and he said, he finished his whole retirement speech in front of everyone. And then he said, oh, by the way, I was living with Sean Atley at the time. He goes, oh, by the way, Jono Canats, it was Boomer that was in that gorilla suit in your house, and just walk out. And Boomer was sitting in the room, and yeah, his face, his jaw just hit the ground. He couldn't believe it. After 4 years, he'd finally been caught.
After 4 years, and then what happened from there? Like, was it just ignoring?
Oh, there was
it?
retribution.
An apology?
No, there was no apology. And to be honest, we're still sort of planning our retribution. That was 2 years ago. We feel like we just need time to pass.
Mate, this is a long game. It seems like
Yeah.
it could be a 10, 15-year saga. It's like you won't know when it strikes, but when it happens...
Yeah, they're the long games are the ones you respect, mate. They're the best ones.
They're the best ones. Oh, that's awesome. And then, best player that you've played against and why?
Best player I've played against, there's a couple. Because I play a number of different positions. Like if I'm talking about a winger, like someone like Andrew Gaff's really hard to play on. He never comes off and he just runs all day. But in terms of forwards, when you're a defender, the hardest place to defend is out of the square when you're one out. And I've played on some players out of the square. Last year I played on Paddy Dangerfield and Gary Ablett and McDonald, Tip and Woody, Anthony McDonald, Tip and Woody from Essendon, Razio Fantasia from Essendon. Those kind of players that are really strong in one or two particular areas. Fantasia's agile and quick. McDonald, Tip and Woody the same. Dangerfield's quick and powerful, but also strong. And Ablett's got the smarts and strength. They're the guys that are really challenging to play on because when you try and take out one of their strengths, particularly when they're smart, they'll work a way around you. So it's constantly trying to evolve and adapt. That's the challenge with them.
Yeah. So say if you are playing on like a Gaz or a Danger, how do you prep for that?
Oh, just vision. Just try and watch vision, and you pick up little nuances or little things that they try and do a lot of, and then you try and just adapt to go, okay, well, if I was in their position right now and knowing that they want to hit up at the ball, how would I best defend it, or what position don't I want to get myself in, or those sorts of things. Because if a lot of the time you'll find they like to take back space, or they like to be in front, or they always push off before they lead, or you pick up these little bits and pieces. So you think, all right, well, if they're going to lead, you don't want to engage body with them, or you don't want to let them out the back, or you don't want to engage them in the high ball because they like using the body. You want to try and sit off them, or just pick up these little bits and pieces, and it's all in the prep work. Because when you get out there to play, you can't be thinking about it. You just got to go for it. So you want to do the work during the week, and then when you play, you just play.
Yeah, you sometimes just sit there just watching it as well, and you're like, how'd you do that? Or
there are times where you just got to go, you tip your hat, and you just go, well played, sir. I've been beaten many times, and you just sometimes my own fault, and sometimes you go, I could not have done anything better there.
It's genius, brilliant, mate. Well, I think you've been amazing with your time, bud. Really appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we get back to some sort of normality. I know there's lots sort of happening out there at the moment in terms of discussions, and we're in the sports space as well, and it's a day-by-day proposition. So I think for everyone involved, fingers crossed that we do get a bit of sport happening, just given how much it means to everyone in the community and everyone sort of watching out there. Is there any messages that you want to share out there with the fans or the community, on just anything that you want to give a plug to?
Oh, I think mainly to our North fans. I think I read the other day we've actually had more members sign up since we've stopped playing footy. So they've been tremendous for us, and being able to stick fat with a club that's going through some tough challenges of its own. And I know everyone out there individually is going through some tough challenges. So it speaks volumes of the supporters that we've got. And the other thing I'd say is just stay safe and do what you can to help us out. When I say us, I mean the whole community, not me as an individual or the footy club. But all we want to do right now is try and beat this thing and return life to normal. And as I said, stay safe, but try and do your best to follow the rules here and there. And look, I think if we can all do that, the world's going to be a good place when we get back there.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. And couldn't agree with you more on that side. I'm just having a quick look through the comments here as well to see if there's any last minute questions that have come through. Few waves. What's up, Jamie, from Ryan Clark? Yeah, a few of the boys getting around here, which is good to see. Finally, a footballer that looks past his playing days. Yeah, some good viewing, mate. You've started everyone's Thursday morning off on a very nice note. There was a comment there about what about Cripper when he rolls forward?
Yeah, no, he's a challenge, mate. You know, yeah, he's a good player. He's the type of player that I was alluding to before. When you try and take out one of their strengths, and what do you know, another one pops up, then you get on top of that one, and they use something else. And yeah, he's good with his body in the aerial contest. He's good on the ground. He'll take you to a stoppage. He'll take you deep. He'll run you. He'll do everything. So he's the type of player that is a challenge. They're a real handful of those types.
Awesome, man. Well, again, huge thanks for being part of our episode 1 of Future Golf TV, mate. I think this one's going to be hard to beat. You've set the bar very high, and again, hopefully we can get back out there, not only you on the football field, but even out for a hit in the near future too, and go have a whack at some of those great courses that you mentioned before.
That's it, mate. Awesome, Thank you very much for having me. No worries.
Thanks heaps, J-Mac. Take it easy, bud.
Legend. See you, mate. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.